Okay, hello everyone. So hopefully we had a great weekend and a great Labor Day. I want to go ahead and walk through today's activities, starting with just the layout of our course pages. So as we can see here, there's a new folder called Unit 1, Cycling of Matter and Energy Dynamics. So that is the unit that we are jumping into this week. So we are no longer in the Week 1 folder. Instead, we're in the Unit 1 folder, and there's a Week 2 folder inside. So the topics for this week can be seen here: Hierarchy of Life and Biochemistry. So inside the Week 2 folder, we can see the days laid out. Right now I'm going to focus on Tuesday. So for each folder, for each day, I've laid out a page here that shows you the rundown of the activities that each of us are going to be responsible for each day. So asynchronously is how we're working today because we do not have one of our Google Meet synchronous sessions. So on your own, you're expected to do the warm-up. The little bean soup intro is what I'm going to do here now for you guys. You're going to read the textbook, just some pages, complete the modified bean soup lab activity, and then complete a formative assessment, which is based off of rubric 2B. And right there's a link if you want a refresher on what rubric 2B is. Just click on here. This is how I'm going to probably lay out every day for the rest of the semester, because I think it's more efficient for everybody. We have the what do I need to do, and then where can I go if I need more help. Obviously, I'm always a source as well, but I'm going to try to post little links in case anybody needs some extra content help. This is a good link for vocab help for this topic. And then if anybody is a bit fuzzy about how to access that online textbook. Okay, so starting off we have the warm-up. So what is a hierarchy? Give me an example of a hierarchy. So go ahead and make sure you guys answer that for me. 2 is that bean soup intro. You can click here for the slides or down here. Then we have our modified bean soup lab activity that you'll be doing. I'm actually going to show some review for you as well. And then you have your formative assessment. Today's a pretty easy day. It may not seem like it. It may seem like there's a lot on the schedule, but most of this should be background information for all of you. If not, that's why we have today. It's to help build that background information so that you have what you need for our summative tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and click into the slides. And I'm going to present. So today we're talking about the hierarchy of life. More specifically, we're going to stay with the familiar today and look at body organization hierarchy. And then tomorrow we're going to expand on that to show the complete hierarchy. So this is just a little rundown. If we were in school right now, if we were together in the classroom, the activity that we'd be doing is called bean soup. And I wanted to start with this because I think the beans are a good starting point when it comes to modeling these organ systems in the organ hierarchy. So these would be the typical instructions. It even says, what activity do we usually do? And then I'm going to go on. So what would usually happen is that I would give each person a bunch of different types of beans, and I'd put you into groups of probably about 2 or 3 students, and each of you would be instructed to pick one type of bean and put it in on the table in front of you. Now I'll tell you right now that one bean is going to represent a cell in your body. But what happened next is that I would instruct you to put about 5 to 10 beans out in front of you of that same particular type of bean. And the simple representation here of that are the tissues inside of our body. Adding on to that, I would have each partner in the group bring their tissues together, and that would form an organ. And beyond that, your group would go ahead and partner with another group, bring all of your beans together, and that would represent an organ system. So obviously this is super simple because we're dealing with beans, but it's to show us that one cell, when put together with other cells of the same type, would equal that tissue. Tissues come together, differing tissues, to make an organ in our body. And then with the organs all together, like let's say the digestive system, all of those organs together would make an organ system. And here is actually another representation of that, without beans, obviously. So we have the cell forming into a tissue, into an organ, the stomach, the organ system, and then beyond that we have the greater whole of the body, the organism. So that was just the organization of the body hierarchy, and that can actually be seen within this diagram, looking at cell up into the organism. And that's what we're going to focus on today. Tomorrow, though, we're going to be adding on to that so that we have the complete hierarchy of life, where we're going from atoms all the way up to the biosphere. So here's your task for today. I've already did the intro, and now you're going to read a little bit about these parts of the body hierarchy. And you're going to do that in the online textbook, and I have pages 16 through 21. I'll actually come back to this to help with the online textbook a little bit, but you're reading these pages so that you can answer the questions in this activity, this modified bean soup activity. In total, reading and doing this activity really should only take you about 30 minutes, maybe even a little less. For my synchronous session, we ended up rejoining and looking at, like doing a little bit of review, and I'll actually add a review bit after this. But once we're done with the review, then it's time to take your formative assessment. And I have that is due by tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Okay, so this is your task for the day. Here's some of the questions you're going to end up seeing. I'll show you that in a different format. But I want to go ahead and tackle this idea about the online textbook. Okay, so I went back into our Tuesday folder, and when it comes to this page of the what needs to be done, I'm showing that there's two options for the online textbook. I did this for people's comfortability. If I only assign the ebook, then it's very techy. There's a lot of little visuals that happen. There's things that you can click on. It's really nice for some, but for others it's just too much. So I had two options that I've assigned. The first being a printed version of the text, and for that it's pages 16 through 21. And then I have the online ebook, and I put that you're just reading through the section cells and cell differentiation. And I'll actually jump into the online textbook now to show you these two different assignments that have been assigned. Again, it doesn't matter which one you do. Just pick one of them, whatever you're more comfortable with. And you do not need to submit once you're done. You're just reading through this for the information for the assignment. So this is my page. Obviously, it's going to look a little bit different than yours, but this is the assignment overview for everyone. So for each class, I've assigned the print version and the ebook version. So if I click into the print version and I tell it to open, it looks exactly like the textbook if it were in front of me right now. So it's basic, and there's not things that I'm going to click on and distract me. As you're reading through, you're really just looking for the definition of these terms for your assignment, and then there are 2 questions within the assignment that you're going to need to pull a little bit more information out from this reading for. Okay, so if I go back into the assignment page, let's go back that way. Perfect. So then I click the ebook. Not that. I'm going to open it, and here's the difference with the ebook. So the ebook doesn't give me pages, and it gives me things that I can click on, or questions that I can answer. What's great too is that you can actually highlight certain sections. So there's a lot more you can do with the ebook, but for some it's a little overwhelming. So I wanted to provide 2 different formats for you. What I do want to point out though with this ebook is that, again, it doesn't have pages. So here's the section I was talking about, cells and cell differentiation. So you're going to read through this, but don't read beyond that. So we're not reading about neurons. So here's your activity for the day. Again, this is just supposed to help you build some background information. So here's pretty much the same model, except for the addition of an organism at the end that we saw on our slides. So your job is to label and actually describe each of these levels. Labels can be found within the slides that I showed, and the description can be found within the text. Then we have a few basic questions for you to answer as well. And don't worry, I will show you a review slide. Don't skip ahead, okay? Or at least not a slide. I'll show you an example of this completed activity to use as review, but do the activity first. Do that now, and then watch Beyond for the review. Okay, so here's a completed lab. Slightly different format, but here's one that was done in person, so the student had the ability to actually draw the beans that they were using. Compare this to your document to make sure that you have the order correct and the descriptions. And then here's the answer to those questions. So some of these you were able to just pull straight from the slide. So like, what does a single bean represent? Or what does a group of the same type of beans represent? But then others you had to kind of pull from the text. For example, number 2, why do the same type of cells group together to work together to do a job / perform a function? So the same type of cells are going to group together in the form of tissues. That way they can work together to actually perform the job that they're needed to do.